Yeah, it'll show you right here. Tell followers that you're live on Instagram.
Ooh.
Hi.
We are live.
Please, someone join.
Amazing. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for joining in.
Now we're a group of 3. A group of 4.
Group of 4.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, you guys. I would love to introduce myself along with Jeremy here. So my name is Nikki. I work on the brand consultant team. Hello. Jeremy and I are kind of like your first point of contact if you want more information about our services and kind of what we do here and answering all of your questions about production or starting your own brand.
Yeah.
So again,
For sure.
I'm Nikki.
And I'm Jeremy. I'm also a brand consultant on the team. So when you pick up the phone and call us, we are the people that you speak to first. Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to be answering some questions that you guys sent through this morning. And then, of course, if you guys have questions now, you can type them in via chat, and we'd be happy to answer them. We'll also feature some of the other people in the office as well and have them answer some of your guys' questions along with us. So the first question that we got asked was, do you guys work with African fashion brands? The answer is yes, we work with brands all over the world, not exclusively made here in the United States.
Yep.
So we'll work with you kind of on setting up times and schedules that are going to work best for you.
Yeah. Everywhere. We work with brands all over the country too, and we are very apt to working remotely. So, we got a question down here. Do you guys do logos? Yes. So sometimes. So if you needed a logo designed, we actually have a project manager who is super proficient in graphic design. So that is a service that we could offer if you guys need it. And another question that we got earlier today was, I am interested in setting up a development meeting, but I'm not sure what I need to get started, which is a really great question. So so for the development meeting, this is our first step into the development process, which is our way to really understand who you guys are, what you want to create, and most importantly, what are your goals for this business. So there's a few things that we need for this meeting to make sure that it's successful. One would be physical reference samples. Now, these reference samples are garments that you might already have in your closet, or they might be on the market out there already, but they would communicate the fits that you're looking for each of your styles, the fabrics you want, measurements, style details, any and all things you can communicate through these reference samples, and it really saves you a lot of time that you might be wanting to sketch or design. You can communicate through these reference samples. The next thing is to fill out our development cheat sheet, which essentially just prompts you with questions about each of the different styles you want to create and questions about the business. So it kind of focuses in on the information that will need to be discussed. And then my last thing that you guys would need for this development meeting is, I say always make some decisions. There's going to be a lot of ideas floating around in your head, and it might get you bogged down in terms of getting started. So I would say really figure out what it is you want to create and be really specific about it. That's all I can say on that.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like we've got a few questions from you guys. The first one being, do we create tags and labels? We work with third-party vendors to help you create those. So yes, we can do anything from hard tags, any type of like screen printed tag in the back, like some cool reflective stuff. We've done a lot of different types of things like that, so yes. We got another question. For samples, it generally costs about $200 to $600 depending on the complexity of the garment, and this is a question that we're actually gonna ask Zach about in a little bit.
He'll do a cameo.
Yes, he'll do a cameo to kind of discuss more about how sampling works with us. For fittings within the development process, we would do all of your material sourcing first. So once we get your approval on material, that's when we would order some sample yardage for you. And then we would begin pattern making, taking into account kind of like the stretch of it and whatnot. And then once we kind of have your first sample made, you would do a fitting with our pattern drafter, Lana, and your project manager. We do 2 rounds of sample making for development.
Awesome. A couple more questions coming in. So if you want to create a brand, what do I need now? So going back to the question I just answered, so that the development meeting would be that first step. So you would need to gather together your physical reference samples and get the cheat sheet from us. And someone just asked, how do I access the cheat sheet? You can email us at info@indiesource.com. Asking for the cheat sheet, and we will send it along to you, along with any other information you need.
Definitely. So another question, does age matter with this?
So yes, if you are under 18, you would need a parent's permission, but I think that's our only restriction with age.
Yeah. So another question that we get asked quite a bit is, do you guys have fabric, or do we need to buy it from different places? So no, we don't really have a lot of in-stock fabric, and the reason being is because we work with so many different brands that are doing so many different things, that we do sourcing for every single project that comes in, like one by one. We have relationships with about 70 different vendors in Los Angeles alone, so it's great. And then we can source for you overseas if necessary. That tends to take a little bit longer, but we can do it if that's something that you're needing. Sorry about that.
Cool. Okay, so the next question we got was, do you guys have order minimums? Yes, we do. So typically our minimum is 300 units per style, but that can be broken up into sizes and colors.
We can typically do about 3 different colors per run of 300, and then you can break that up from sizes. Bronxon jeans. I would check your spam folder. We're working on getting that issue resolved, but things have been reverting to spam. So if you feel like you should have gotten an email from us, just double check in there. It's probably in there. If not, you can shoot an email at info@indiesource with your questions, and we will be happy to answer them.
Okay, cool. Great. So another question that we had got earlier today was, how much does it cost to work with you? And so with that, typically we respond with another question, which is, what are you creating? And mostly because all of our costs are really dependent on what you are creating. And that's in development, and that's in production as well. So we are looking at the fabrics being used and the trims being used. We are looking at the construction of the garments, and we are looking at the complexity of the garment. So every project is so different from one another that it doesn't really benefit anybody to have set pricing. So you tell us exactly what you want, and with all of that information, then we're able to give you a quote.
Looks like we have a couple more questions coming through here. As far as accessories, we can do something that's made out of like a soft material, so like canvas tote bags. We don't work with any leather, and we don't do any like hard accessories, so no hats. We don't do socks. Mostly just something that would fall within like the softer accessory. And we do not create footwear. It's not something that we add.
And the next question, when will we be adding denim to our process? That is to be determined. Denim does have a very special type of machinery that's used to create it, and it's just not something that is in our repertoire right now.
Got another question in here. So throughout development, you have a project manager, and that person is kind of like your go-to person that's doing all of your, project management things. They're in your fittings, they are doing all of your sourcing, they kind of are in charge of if you're doing dyeing or printing, they oversee all of that as well. Development typically takes 6 to 8 weeks, but that's a really rough estimate because a lot of it falls on the client. If you know what you want exactly and we can just kind of like do it and there's no obstacles in the way, you'd fall within that. But if you honestly don't know what you want, development's hard to kind of give you a timeline for. And then production is about 4 to 6 weeks, and that's if we have your fabric here in LA and we can order and have it delivered and your pre-production sample approved, we can get you moving very quickly.
Yeah. Next one. The question is, how do we create custom fabrics do we create custom fabrics or find suppliers? So we do find suppliers. We were talking about before, we work with about 70 different vendors within the LA area. So you give us an example of the fabric that you like, and then we will go ahead and source it for you. Now, if there is a fabric that you're looking to create and don't know how, like, definitely let us know, and we can help facilitate that.
We do have relationships with vendors who can custom mill fabric. The only thing when we do custom milling, the minimum order is a lot higher, just since we'll be creating something new.
Yeah.
So instead of looking at maybe 300 yards, you'd be looking more at maybe 1,000. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a difference there.
You're awesome, Tony. Thanks for saying that.
Thanks, we tried.
And the question below that, are there minimums for production? Yes, 300 units per style, broken into sizes and colors, probably around 3 colors. We'll probably be answering that question a few more times in this live session.
Would in-person meetings be possible?
Yes, we love them.
Love them.
But appointments would be preferred. So if you want to set up an in-person meeting, please give us a call or shoot us an email at info@indiesource. And we'd be happy to get that set up for you.
We love meeting you. We love showing you our space. Super awesome to have you guys involved in the entire process.
We'll take a little tour before we end today so you can see kind of what our office looks like as well.
Yes, definitely. Another question that Jeremy and I get asked probably almost every day is, do we have a fashion designer that you can work with? We do. Our pattern maker, Lana, has 3 different degrees in fashion, along with pattern making and tailoring. So she is a super good resource to have. She's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And then we really look at you to also be a fashion designer based off of the reference samples that we've talked about before, just so that way it helps communicate kind of what exactly you're looking for us to help you be the designer.
Yeah, if you don't sketch or you don't, you can't really put down on paper what it is you want to create, you're more of like a visual person, that is perfect. That's exactly why we have our process set up the way we do with the reference sample. So you don't need to pick up a pen and paper. You can just literally find that hoodie that's in your closet that you love the fit of and you wish you saw this fit more on the market, and you bring that to us, and that's exactly what we'll use. All right. Another question is, it's about minimums again, but this one is, why is your MOQ 300 units? Which is a really good question. And basically it comes down to, so everything in production has a fixed cost. So essentially we are doing the same amount of work at 300 units than we would at 100 units or 50 units. So to split that fixed cost between 300 units rather than 100 units really does give you a better per unit cost in terms of our labor. And that's true for going up in units as well. So once you go past the threshold of 300 units, as we start to scale up, that's when you start to see the price breaks per unit. And I've gotten a fact from Zach and Jesse a lot that most small to medium-sized brands are doing, I think it's like 5,000 to 10,000 units a month, I think. So 300 is still super small. It's on the lower end of that spectrum, but still a really great place to start.
Plus, when you do that, you have more variety in your SKUs as well, since we can break it up into 3 different colors. So then that way you kind of have inventory to sell through and you're not sitting with, 0 items left.
Right.
And then it also kind of goes back to minimums on fabric as well. If we're buying you smaller like yields of fabric, the price is much higher since it's more like sample yardage, and you get a better deal for production orders when you do a bit more units.
Yeah, definitely.
So why do we go into multiple rounds of sample making? Well, it's a good question. The first round of samples is kind of to test the fabric of the garment to see how it falls and everything. That fitting is really to just kind of see what's going on in order to make some really good pattern edits for the second round.
Yeah.
We also do multiple rounds of pattern edits to make sure that the samples fit on the body correctly and not just one body. We would do it on multiple different sizes just to make sure that all of the sizes are going to lay correctly. So when we do the fittings, that's when we take down notes for any adjustments that need to be made, and they can be as small as like pinching something 1/4 of an inch and having it change the fit drastically. So it's super important to kind of go through those multiple rounds in order to really perfect your garment for you and ensure like that it's going to fit the best that it can, because that's essentially what's going to be what takes you to the next level. And helps you kind of like differentiate yourself. And it's also just a way to kind of like test the product before moving it into production, just so that way we can get it right and you don't have 300 units of something that doesn't fit you correctly. So the multiple rounds of sample making is really crucial to ensuring that the product fits as good as it can.
Yeah, and it's not like with us, so typically we average around 2 to 3 rounds of development. So industry standard is actually around 5 to 6. So we've been able to keep it down in our process to 2 to 3. So we really try to make this process as efficient as possible.
Awesome.
Great. Do we have any? Does anybody want to? Oh, wow! I see all these.
Oh my God! I'm sorry, we missed all of your questions.
We missed all these questions down here. So question is, if I order something and wait a few months till it's sold out, would I have to pay a startup fee again?
Development meeting?
No, for the development meeting, it's, pay for the meeting when you're ready to move forward, I would say. So make sure you have all your ducks in a row. But definitely pay for that meeting and we'll get you in.
Yeah, definitely.
I always suggest, I'm from Ohio originally, so I always suggest people moving to California.
I'm from Iowa, so we have 2 Midwesterners who migrated west.
But I think people who live in LA would say differently. If you send us a sample, would you guys be able to give me a quote just off that? Yes, so if this is for production quote that you're looking for, we have a lot more information that we'll need to discuss besides just seeing a sample. There's a ton of things that are needed to begin production wherever you go. So we actually built out a production checklist for you to be able to go through, and you can be like, great, I have my patterns digitized, great, I have my pattern card, I know what my fabric is. You can really go down this list and see if you are ready for production.
We do respect customers' confidentiality.
Yeah.
We can sign NDAs with you if need be.
Yeah. And we have our own as well, so if you feel more comfortable, we can send ours out and get that all squared away. That's no issue for us. 8 weeks pre-production until the product is actually physically made. Again, it depends. We don't have a set timeline for development, so it really does kind of depend on a lot of different variables that we just don't know at this time. So we would hold off on giving you a development timeline before actually getting started.
We do work with a lot of kids brands. We actually own our own kids brand.
Yeah. We'll walk around and you guys will get to meet some of them. But yeah, children's clothing, adult clothing, it's all the same process. We definitely can take care of it. Do you guys do 50K units or up? Yes, we can do starting at 300 all the way to 300,000. So essentially we have no cap on our capacity.
Yes, correct. You are in another state. You do not need to travel to us. It's never a requirement to be here. We can do everything with you via phone, via video chat, whatever's going to work best for you. If people do want to come, it's best to do it when we are doing a fitting.
Yeah.
That's when you can kind of like be in fittings with our pattern drafter and project manager, but it's never required.
Hi, Angie. That's Angie from Bobo.
Oh,
from Magic. We love Angie.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions? We're going to kind of grab some people and ask them questions as well. That way you can meet a few more people on our team and learn a little bit more about what some of us do as well.
Yeah.
Questions?
We love you, Angie.
Okay, great. As we're on our way over there, we can give you kind of a little of one of our spaces. So in here, this is where we do all of the like sample making after production. We do all of the quality checks in here, the final ones. We do about 4 through each run, and then we can do all of the tagging and bagging in here as well. And then this is where we're working on our kids collection right now. And then we do all of the like sample cutting here. And then in this room, this is where we do all of the sample making. We can do like smaller production runs in here as well. There can be about 20 different machines working at once. So we're gonna walk into.
You're gonna ask this question. We're gonna go find Zach.
Yes, we're gonna go find Zach and ask him some questions. So we're gonna walk into like our main office. We can say hello to Clene. She's our bookkeeper.
We're live.
All right, so this is kind of our main office space. So we have all of the project managers we were just talking about here. This is Jennifer, Matilda. They're all a great resource. And then we are going to grab Zach now and ask him some questions.
Hi guys.
Me. All right.
As long as it's assistant, I'm okay. What's up?
We have a few questions to ask you.
All right. Shoot.
All right. Well, first question. As the first question we got today, are we hiring?
We are hiring. We are hiring. Particularly if you have so we get 2 different types of people, but if you have a background in this industry and you've done product development and you have experience, then yeah, I mean, we're hiring good people no matter what. So yeah, send us an email, send us a resume.
Amazing. Amazing.
Great.
Okay. And then a question that we touched on a bit earlier, but someone was wondering why sample prices are so high.
Compared to what?
That's what I thought he was going to say. Or okay, let's rephrase this. Why are sample prices higher than just a regular piece?
Production cost.
A couple of reasons. Number one, the person making them is a much higher skill level. It's a sample maker rather than just a production line sewer. So they get paid more because they have higher skill. Number two, and way more importantly, is the time. So the time that you spend when you're making a sample is like, it's like the first time you're doing the thing, right? There's only one person doing it. They're reading the pattern card, they're putting the thing together for the first time, and they're doing piece by piece, operation by operation. So it's going to take a lot longer, and it is not designed to be as fast as production, where you already know what you're doing, you have cut bundles, and you're just going, oh, because they're not going to map quickly, right? So if any of you studied business economics, you know economies of scale is what allows us to bring prices down and achieve a production price point that gives you space to have a margin and make money. So you basically put in the resources in the beginning to make the first product. Don't skimp on your first product, because that's the most important part. And then when you're done, you can put that into production and scale it out. So that's the reason.
Nice. Thanks,
Awesome. Thank
You're
you
very
so
welcome.
much.
Come by anytime.
Great.
And the question.
We did get a couple more questions. Am I able to do a walk-in? Typically, we would like to set up an appointment with you. That way we can make sure that somebody is going to be able to assist you. So email info@IndieSource, and either Jeremy or myself will be able to set that meeting up. And yes, we can work with anyone all over the country. We work with many people in New York, so it's not a problem.
Yeah.
We can do anything like FaceTime type dealio like this, or a call. Not
Skype.
a problem. Skype.
Mhm.
Great. And now we have another question for our production manager, Judy. Hello. She is amazing. She's like a wizard with production. So a question that we get asked all the time is, what's one thing that really like slows down production?
Not having complete information, for example, lack of BLM, so we don't know exactly what goes on to the garment, which it's a big deal. Like even missing label information is crucial, because if it's supposed to be a screen print label, then we need to plan that ahead of time rather than a sewn-on label. And also a sewn-on label, we need to have the artwork and graphic and size and all that, so and color. So there's just so many details within each component of the garment that we need ahead of time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then that speaks to making sure we have all the information. There's so many little details. So if you want to see what you need before production, like we talked about before, contact us. We'll send you our production checklist, and you can just go through the line and know exactly what you need to provide to us to make sure that we have a smooth production process.
We had one more question come through. Do you send samples so we can make sure the fit is what we want before we do production? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
We need your approval before we move forward with anything that's
That's fabric. That's
trim, fit,
yeah.
everything. Artwork, placement, all of it.
Yeah.
We double check everything with you before we do the real thing, because we want to make sure that your investment is coming out exactly what you're looking for. So we would do the pre-production sample for you, and then once we get that approved, that's when we would be able to move into production with you.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any more questions? Again, if you have questions that come up, I don't know, after this or whenever, just email info@IndieSource, and either Jeremy, myself, or probably Zach
Yeah.
will get back to you and
Yeah.
answer any of those questions. We'd be happy to set up meetings.
Yeah.
Talk
And
to
this
you
won't
over
be
the
the
phone.
last little questionnaire live session. So, we got one last question. Is there a charge to do a consultation and see if we're a good fit? So, before we have you do the consultation, we're actually wanting to connect with a brief phone call, just to make sure that we are a good fit. So we'll have a list of questions for you. I'm sure you'll have a list of questions for us, and we'd be happy to hop on the phone with you, have a quick 5-10 minute conversation, and figure out if we'd be a good fit.
You can also DM us on here.
Yeah,
We check
please,
this
we
all
check
the
it.
time. So if you do want to set something up, just send us a DM, and one of us will get back to you to set up a time as well.
And if anybody is needing an email that they signed up for and did not get, let us know. Again, email us at info@IndieSource. We'll get that taken care of. Yeah.
Anything else before we jump off?
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
This was so much fun.
Super fun. Thanks for listening to us talk for probably 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. Bye.
Bye.